Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories.
Or inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from me. It's just gonna solidify everything within those.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Ambulance immediately to back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
Everybody, welcome back to another phenomenal week here for CGL. Things are proceeding here, and the opening week is done. We're currently in our 2nd week of play, and it's also the last week of play without the new heroes involved. So after this week, Shadowfang, lots of things going to change, but for now, we're focused on this current patch. Everyone still playing a lot of these other characters that, to be fair, we don't know how the full meta is going to shake up, but these teams have been practicing. They should be ready to go for this match.
Yeah, I get the feeling that both of these teams are really amped up and ready to get going here tonight because, you know, both of them lost their week 1 matchups, right? So it's a battle of 2 0-1 teams, and it's really important that you stay up in the rankings here because there are just so many teams in this Masters tier. You do not want to fall behind. and deal with tiebreakers. Because when you start relying on tiebreakers to make like mid-season tournaments and postseason, it's no. You can stay in control of your own destiny right now just by winning the game in front of you tonight.
Yep, 100%. Because winning and losing these games right here could come back to hurt you or bite you in the situation when you get towards the latter end of the season, where those wins are going to mean a lot more if you're behind. So one of these teams is going to get their first win of the season. We'll see which way that ends up going down, but someone's going to be able to do it. Unfortunately for the other Shadow Fang, they're going to fall to 0-2. We'll have to find a way to bounce back from there. It's an unfortunate thing, but it's an inevitability in competition. But regardless, excited for this game here today, as both these teams, like you said, they should be amped up in this situation to bounce back and get a proper win.
Yes, they absolutely should. And I mean, we've seen the Eclipse org be very strong throughout the tiers last few seasons. So, probably some familiar faces coming in on these rosters eventually when we do get there. So I think it's going to shape up to be a pretty competitive game here tonight, just simply due to the fact that, again, both these teams lost in fairly convincing fashions. So I would anticipate a very close series, especially since the new heroes are not available to throw out any weird variables of just, hey, this person just learned the new hero quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Gives everyone a week to really learn it. But one thing you don't need to learn is our first map. It is going to be Nepal to get things going. And this map set in place ahead of time, and everything subsequently from here will be loser's choice. That will go for map choice and ban order as well. But obviously, you want to focus in on getting the best start humanly possible on Nepal. Put yourself in a pretty good position, because while it's nice to go out there and be able to ban and pick a map too, you don't want to have to play from behind the entire time and kind of lose a lot of that staying power you have later on. But Shadowfang, we're ready to get this first ban in place. Cosmic Eclipse have the honor of banning first.
Yes, they absolutely do. And map 1 bans, like I say, they're usually, unless the two teams have scrimmed each other and they just know each other's tendencies that well, I feel like map 1 is just kind of a crapshoot, or let me just get rid of the thing I don't feel like dealing with, right? Like, I've seen a lot of Mauga bans on map 1, just simply due to the fact that the other team does not want to have to even consider dealing with that character, right? And here, we get the D.Va ban, right? They don't want to deal with D.Va. Maybe they want to go with, like, a Winston-style dive or something.
Yeah, honestly, I don't hate it. At the end of the day, D.Va's still a really consistent character, all things considered. I think even when we introduce all the new characters, I think D.Va's still going to have a little place in there to be able to have a lot of effectiveness. But Strike Academy either have to go for the damage or the support category to get things going here. And it's just like you said at this point, Shadow. It's about comfortability. What do we not want to have to deal with here? What do you think is going to cause a little bit of disruption against us right here? And with the D.Va out, I've been seeing a lot of people gravitate towards things like the Kiriko and the Lucio and trying to slow down the process a little bit here. But with these teams, with this division specifically, it really is just going to be comfortability. And hey, what's going to stop us? And apparently, they think it's the Tracer.
Ooh, I was gonna say Tracer, because when you see the D.Va ban, in your mind you're thinking, okay, they want to play Winston. It's near impossible to play Winston without Tracer in the current patch, right? It's just, you can't get near enough value on Winston without Tracer, and vice versa. So this ban makes complete sense to me. Kind of forces both teams to maybe more so focus on those brawly compositions, or maybe even we go towards something like a ball.
Yeah, 100%. And with that being the case, obviously, there's things you could put with the Winston. You have Vendettas, Avengers, but at the end of the day, yeah, you're right about that. But we got to take a look at our two teams going into today, both trying to pick up their first win. We'll take a look at Cosmic Eclipse to get things going. We have Strider and, no, my name's Jeff, over on the DPS. Pickle, of course, on the tank. And then you have Itzvert, and Kayumi over on the support. And again, coming from the Cosmic, or specifically from the Eclipse organization, these players, they know about being in CGL well. A lot of these players have played in many previous seasons before. They've got the experience and the pedigree to go into this matchup and make something happen.
Oh, yes, they absolutely do. And going up against them tonight is going to be the side of Strike Academy. You're going to have Bill World and Nightwing running that DPS line with Major Bear 2 on that tank. And then you got Evelyn and Mist running that support line here tonight. Again, another strong lineup going against the side of Cosmic Eclipse here on map 1.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see what they'll all be able to do going into this first map. Again, Nepal is going to get us started. You want to get off to as good of a situation as you can, and Shrine is what's going to get us going for our first round here. But as we're beginning to open things up, there's still been a way that the meta has been trending over the significant period of the last month or two. But as things are right now, the things we're seeing right now is that Sigma and that Doomfist, which for all intents and purposes, still see a decent amount of playtime in terms of comfortability.
Yeah, I really do think that just the consistent output of the Sigma and just playing from that poke distance, and like you said, that comfort pick, right? Since the Diva is out of commission, I feel like this is going to be more comfort pick here, and there is potential that the side of Cosmic Eclipse stays on this Symmetra here. Sim is pretty good on this point, but no, they're going to swap over to the Echo.
100%. They are to get things going, and I like coming in here with the Ramatra. You can come in with a certain sense of aggression that you're not quite able to do with a Sigma, but still, you have to play careful not to get hit with that accretion. But Strider going to be caught out as Billward more than happy to shut things down right out the gate. Gets rid of 3 to get this fight going. Kumi gonna hopefully be able to get out. Is low, but again, finish comes through there. That is a successful and quick first fight for Strike Academy.
Yeah, that was incredibly fast. Billward just absolutely popping off on the cast, getting 2 kills just almost immediately. There's not really much you can do at that point if you're Cosmic Eclipse. I mean, it was better for them to all die immediately than to stagger out. That's the one positive I'd take out of that fight.
Yeah, 100%. But next one, getting ready to get taken care of just as quickly. It's Vert, though, this time going to get that first pick away. Is going to open the door for Cosmic Eclipse to get into this one right here. But remember, Nightwing needs to try to get back as quick as possible. Unfortunately, don't know how well that's going to work out, as No Mind Nep Jeff has been taken out, so you're starting to slow down the pace a little bit. But Vert gets rid of 2 with that boop right there. Going to force everybody back. 37% on the board as Pickle has to take the reset. That's a fantastic performance to pull that one back for his Vert.
Oh, absolutely. Vert getting the final blows there, but you can just tell Strider doing so much on that cast, building up to that Deadeye before Billward even did, which is insane, the lead that Billward had on that ultimate. So Deadeye, like I said, going to be online for both teams here. Usually not a highly impactful ultimate, but it could, potentially catch somebody out.
Good. Deadeye is available for both sides as well, as No Man Jeff in a rough scenario will eventually be taken out here, so it's going to open up the door for Shrek to kind of even do even once more. Again, that Deadeye ready to go for the Billward, but instead, it's going to be Strider who goes for it first. Will get rid of Evelyn. She'll have to take the restart here as things are going to keep moving forward. Getting rid of a second has been so clutch in this first round. The DPS looking to clean things up here as well. Pickle does fall over. Cosmic Eclipse just trying to survive in their stall for as long as possible, but Shadowfang, it is an inevitability.
It is eventually going to go the way of Strike Academy here. And, once again, just a really solid retake from Strike Academy. They don't burn any ultimates in the process, side note, so they're up to their sound barrier. They got the Kitsune, they've got the Gravitic Flux, the Deadeye, they're going to come up on the Blade, and if you're Cosmic Eclipse, all you have is the Kitsune and the Flux. You're just going to get ulted here.
Yeah, 100%. You are Kitsune Rush going to come out. The beat is there as well. Lots of things being thrown out to try to keep this fight going alive. But Shredder going to be the first one to go down right here. Major Bear is still going to have that Gravitic Flux at the availability if he wants to use it. But for the moment, has already kind of gotten rid of 2, so is just going to keep pressing everybody back. Pickle's going to be pooped away momentarily. Should be able to stay alive and take another reset. But you're already looking at 80%. You need to keep everybody alive.
Yes, you absolutely do. And, I mean, Strike Academy doing such a good job with their ult usage right there. They only used the Deadeye and the Sound Barrier, so they've still got the Blade, the Flux, and that is actually coming out right now, going to be matched with that beat by Vert.
And just wants to keep everybody alive, and for the time being, it most certainly will, but No My Name Jeff is so important to keep up. That Blade was ready. It will not be there in time, but it shouldn't matter too much. Just the supports left. Mist and Evelyn hanging about, gonna stall for a little bit longer. Mist gonna take that reset, and now it's gonna come down to this final fight where it's gonna come down to the blades from the Genjis.
This is, yeah, and that's kind of a crazy statement to make, quite honestly. Two naked blades going at each other. Usually Genjis just get one-shotted in this tier as soon as they try and pull out their blades. So I'm gonna be real curious to see if either one can really manage to get value out of it, because like you said, that's all we've got. Pickle's about to build up to that flux, though, and the first blade is coming out right now.
Yeah, that it is. Nightwing wants to find a little something, and Nomad and Jeff trying to do the exact same thing, but the naked blades, surprisingly, don't work out all that well, as again, you see the cleanups beginning to come through. Pickle hoping to find a little something with the flux. Will get rid of Major Bear, and now it is just Billward and Evelyn both trying to hang on, keep this alive. Overtime touch needs to try to come through. It's coming through for the corner from Mist. It just won't be there in time. So 100 to 99 to get us started. It was an incredibly back and forth affair.
It was just kind of unfortunate ult timing for the side of Strike Academy, right? I mean, like I said, in that moment, both the blades just instantly died to the cast. That is hilarious, by the way, that's the 2 kills in the kill feed back-to-back. Just Genjis that pulled blade dying to cast before they actually got anybody. But then it was just the fact that Pickle was 85 to that Gravitic Flux walking in. You instantly take out your matchup. And as soon as that happens, it's like your team kind of falls over without a tank at that point. So, you know, that was just kind of, like I said, unfortunate ult timing from Strike Academy.
Yeah, unfortunate situation, but able to bounce back here as gonna head things over to Village to get things going, but not a whole lot changing for either one of these squads. It's just a level of confidence in what they're both running to keep things going. But as you see out the gate here, Cosmic Eclipse is kind of struggling to get out the gate right here, and with Strider and its vert going down, that's going to shut down any possibility of taking this one. So just have to wait for the reset. Strike Academy is going to throw a couple bodies on and should be able to take this first point.
Yeah, I mean, good first. I almost don't even want to call it a fight. It was just kind of like a poke phase. Good poke phase win from Strike Academy right there. And, you know, you kind of just want to keep layering down this pressure, right? That's the... You know, that's kind of the idea with the Sigma comp. Just lay down as much poke as possible.
Yeah, 100% to get this thing going. But we're getting ready to head into our first actual fight, ladies and gentlemen. But Pickle, in a bit of a pickle, so to speak, let's just say it as it is, will be able to stay alive, though, but we'll have to get off the point momentarily. Kind of sustain through it all as... For Strike Academy, DPS beginning to struggle, getting really low, but again, being kept up so significantly. It goes to show what these supports are doing right out the gate, but trades beginning to come through as Nightwing already had gotten rid of 2. Strider more than happy to try to keep them in this one, though, as both sides happy to keep losing members and trying to fight back, but with Major Bear still alive, Strike Academy still has something to hold on to.
They do indeed. If they can get this stagger kill onto Know My Name Jeff, which doesn't look like they're going to be able to. I was going to say that would have been huge if they could have just staggered that out. Give you another 10% at least. And only Ultimate online right now. Oh, there's a Kitsune Rush just came online for Strike Academy. That could prove important, but Evelyn has to make sure they do not die early here.
Yeah, 100%. That would be worst case scenario. But getting ready to go into this next fight is Evelyn. She really wants to let it loose here as the point's going to flip over essentially for free right here. Still trading out as Kitsune Rush activated. Remember, Qumi not around to be able to deliver her own Kitsune Rush into the fight right here as Strider going to try to go for something there. Gets all of it eaten right there. Still manages to find the pickup in the picks again, going back and forth. It's such chaotic fights from both of these squads right here. But again, it's Pickle being in the fight, being able to give the team sustainability to survive another one. And they're going to be able to go into this fight, take that dub, and now they're going to have double support ultimates going into the next one.
Oh, that's going to be a tough fight to try and win if you're Strike Academy. You're 20% off a sound barrier. You're close to Vert's ult charge. You need one good like heal amp maybe, and you can catch up with that ult charge. So that's what's gonna need to happen here because we need something to try and sustain through this Kitsune Rush.
Oh, and that flux is big, by the way. It's going to get rid of 2 at the end of the day. Billward more than happy to shut them all down right there as you're gonna maybe stagger 1 or 2 people on, but it's just not going to matter. Cleanup crew coming for support's gonna be able to try to get out. Qumi, unfortunately, not able to do so, but now 70% on the board, and Billward gonna try to get back over on the legs.
I mean, yeah, makes sense. You get that little bit of mobility to run back and forth up to the high ground. Have you seen some of these soldiers like in high rank play with their mobility? It's just
Oh, yeah.
ludicrous. It's ludicrous the amount of bullets you can dodge on this character.
Yeah,
But anyways, we still Gravitic Flux is now coming out for Major Bear.
yeah, and it's going to force the beat to come out right here. Miss is going to let it loose as well and try to run everybody down. The Blade is cutting people down one at a time, gotten rid of 3. The full wipe comes through, and that is going to take us to our 3rd round. Sanctum is going to decide it all.
Oh, yes, it will. And I mean, I would say the biggest difference between map 1 and map 2, or point 1 and point 2 there, was really just Strike Academy's ult usage was significantly better. These teams are relatively even in the neutral for the most part. It's kind of just been the ult fights determining a large majority of what's going on in a lot of these fights. And like I said, Strike Academy just doing significantly better with their ult timings and their ult combos and just holding on to one more ultimate so they have just enough to try and deal with what's going to be on the way from Cosmic Eclipse.
100%. See both teams teeping out once more. Going to stay committed over to the Sigmas as well as, again, we're more than happy to stay on the legs as well. And interestingly enough, Genji staying on the play, I think are both really significant to both of their second point attacks. But still, this is going to be a little bit more open, a little bit more difficult to deal with in the situation.
Oh, that's not what you like to see first, too. Just instantly losing 2 players. Cosmic Eclipse just coming through incredibly fast with the kills.
Yeah, that one is done and dusted out the gate right here. We'll be able to take the point for Cosmic Eclipse. You're going to be able to get No Money and Jeff back into this fight as well. But overall for them, while it's chaotic, again, it's a consistent first fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait a minute. What is going on over here? The kills are just occurring over here off in the cut.
Yeah, it's a little weird right now, all things considered. You're going to see the speed back to get everybody back in place, but hopefully we'll have a first proper fight going on in here. You see the rotation over on the Mega Health Pack side inside the building, but they eventually need to come in on somebody right here. You're hoping that accretion to catch onto somebody, like Know My Name Jeff. But Pickle is going to be pushed to the side a little bit here. It's forced into the corner. Lucky to still be standing, all things considered right here. And here comes that dive coming through. Cleanse in time, though, as Strider gets rid of the second of the fight. And everybody else from Strike Academy going to be forced back. Would be lucky to get out of here alive as Major Bear, not to be the case, but Evelyn missed running for it. Going to try to get out alive, and it looks like neither will be able to.
Well, that's an unfortunate stagger right there. But, I mean, you said it just a minute ago, There's no real fight that's occurring between these two teams right now. Somebody's just kind of splitting off from Strike Academy and just getting picked off by Cosmic Eclipse over and over again. So you need to just have a full team fight. But this is going to be a bad one to have a full team fight because you're going to have to deal with a Bob and a Gravitic Flux and a Kitsune Rush.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be rough to deal with. But Major Bear is going to try to make it happen over on the Orisa. You have to in the situation. You're able to get out of the Flux as well, but Pickle might go down regardless. Will eventually do so. Bob thrown out into the air, and it's going to turn the fight just like that. If you're Nightwing, you need to hide, survive, and set up for a touch.
Yeah, Robert can be a pretty good ultimate sometimes when he has to come out, in these moments. And with that being the only ult you had to burn, and then the stagger coming out too, yep, no touch is going to be had here. Map 1 goes the favor of Cosmic Eclipse.
And it's a dominant way to close it out as well. They are so good at shutting down a lot of these poke faces at the end of the day, because these fights are taking a lot longer than I really think they want them to for Strike Academy. But it works out for Cosmic Eclipse because they can stick around. They can continue their poke game. If they're defending, they have no reason to ever have to be the aggressors. But then they do plays like these, where the moment they see you're exposed, they will pull the trigger with no hesitation.
I mean, we did see a lot of great plays from Strike Academy, honestly. They played, it was a 99-99 point on point 1. It was really just Sanctum. Sanctum they struggled on. They couldn't get a fight going. It seemed like Cosmic Eclipse knew how to set up on that map way better. And of the 3 points of Nepal, that is what I would call like the more setup oriented map. You need to have that map control. You need to be controlling that right side high ground. And once they had Strider set up over there on the Ash, it was just near impossible to get him off of there. So that was their big struggle for the entirety of that last point.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was. And obviously, we'll see how it changes up in terms of everything. When you're playing these slower comps, unfortunately, something like the Ash and the carry is going to be a lot more difficult to reach. And you saw multiple attempts to create some kind of dive over onto him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because that's a situation where you have to pretty heavily commit to that situation. You have to deal with the coach gun, to cleanse, the step to get out of there. It's a lot of things that you have to deal with to make that effective, which is why you need to be able to commit more than just one person to that dive. But again, it's something to learn from going into the second map, and it's going to be full control for Strike Academy as they're going to decide on our next map as well as the ban order as well. And hey, if anything, Shadowfang, the second map is the point where I think you have the most power when it comes to banning and selecting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so first off, Cosmic banned the Diva last map. So if Strike Academy was a more Diva-oriented team, you don't have to deal with that issue anymore. That's no longer a problem. You're going to have that available to you once again. And so, you know, Watchpoint Gibraltar is one of our maps that's available in our pool. You could force a Watchpoint Gibraltar, even though it has no bridge and they put, what's that, like a gigantic crane on the back of the ship or something. They got a whole bunch of stuff going on that map now. So you can get that map, force a dive style. You could get a Numbani, that's also, you know, dive heavy, I would say. Hollywood, dive heavy. Or you can go with one of the more brawly style maps, which is, you know, most of the other maps that we have in the pool right now.
Yeah, 100%. I could see them potentially going this down the dive route because you could bring the Diva back out. I think you managed to get a lot of productivity with Nightwing over on the Genji. I think there was a lot to get from that. Even just over on the Cassidy as well, I think was getting a ton of value. I think if you give yourself this ability to let the DPS kind of be able to take it a little more into their hands, if they dive map, I think you could see it go into their favor. You could say the same thing even about a Circle Royale, where that becomes so DPS heavy when it comes to how those maps tend to swing. So I think there's a lot of really good choices available, but I think the most important thing isn't necessarily where they go. It's that whatever they select, they do it with confidence, knowing that, hey, we feel good about this map. We feel good about what we want to run here.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to make sure you're picking, what I would say for map number 2, you need to be picking something that you're super comfortable on, and then you need to ban out the thing that can potentially stop the thing that you are comfortable on. So let's just do those two things back to back, and I'd say you're in pretty solid shape going into the map at the very least.
Yeah, no, 100%, and we'll see what they want to go with right here. Obviously, they get that minute to really contemplate what you want to do, because again, it is a lot of power to have with the second map in terms of choosing a map to go to and being able to ban first if you do choose to. Teams often do choose to ban first. You have the option to pass it off and ban second, but I'd say 9 times out of 10 teams opt to take the first ban for themselves, because at the end of the day, even if you don't have a particular hero you want to go after, you can still protect some of your own. If you know, hey, we're going to this next map, we want to play Winston, get rid of the Mauga, the Roadhog. It gives you the ability to still play the Winston, and also a way to use your ban in a way that protects them from being banned.
Yeah, that's another smart way to go about it as well. That was always like, so since I'm a heavy Winston player, my team's go-to was to pick Gibraltar, ban Diva, force Winston. Yeah, you're going to play against us on the hero that we want to play, and we know that you want to play the Diva, but again, they banned Diva map number 1, so that isn't really a particular option anymore. They could do the opposite thing and go Watchpoint Gibraltar and ban Winston. That's sacrilegious to me, but it is a thing that you can do and just force the Diva mirror outright. That, and like you said, really force your composition super heavily.
Yeah, us here at CGL Incorporated do not support the authority of banning the Winston. One thing we are in full support of, though, if there's one map that I feel like we have casted more than any other in this entire league, it is Kings Row, and that is going to be our second map of the evening. It is the selection of Strike Academy as well. to get things going. And with that being the case, obviously, ban order is theirs to dictate. At the end of the day, just kind of talking about what we have seen thus far for Strike Academy, when it comes to what you want to take out in this situation, because they were pretty mirrored overall, Shadowfang. So what do you even opt to ban out here if Strike Academy were to go first?
So I'd say, what are you necessarily trying to play here, right? You could play Zarya, you could play Ram, you could play Orisa, right? You could play any one of those like brawly style heroes. That's usually what we tend to see on a King's Row. So in the case that if you want to play Zarya, I would say get rid of Ramatra. If you want to play Orisa, probably just get rid of the Zarya. And, just play that rock, paper, scissors game of just getting rid of one of the things so that you're kind of forcing that mirror. Like I said, that was always my move, at least when I was playing, because I was super confident I could beat my matchup in a direct mirror.
Yeah, and having that confidence is extremely important in the situation right here. Now, with it being King's Row, I feel like there's quite a few different avenues you could go down in terms of your ban. Again, I wouldn't expect it to go down the tank route. It always could, because why not? I feel like maybe you don't want to take the Sigma battle, but instead it's going to be the Ramatra taken out, which we did see the Ramatra briefly before, all the way back on Shrine.
It makes me think they want to play Zarya, right? I was just talking about that rock, paper, scissors game a second ago. This leads me to believe they want to go for maybe that Zarya Vendetta composition that we saw so much of. So if I was Cosmic Eclipse, I would probably preemptively ban like Vendetta or Venture or Reaper, something that's really strong taking Zarya bubbles, or Lucio, because, it's hard to play Zarya without that speed boost these days.
Yeah, it is difficult. Sometimes opt to simply just throw the Juno in place of the Lucio. A lot of the time, if they still want to opt for speed, because while you can't sustain yourself too well with the ultimate, I think Orbital Ray is still such a fantastic ultimate to be able to go in with, to the point where I feel like most teams opt to simply back out and peel out of these fights instead of trying to run into that massive beam of destruction. But Cosmic Eclipse are getting ready to set their next ban in place here. We'll see which route they opt to go down momentarily, as I can see them going, again, quite a few different ways with this ban at the end of the day, because with the fights we're likely going to be seeing, Shadowfang, these are going to be a lot of close-knit fights of, hey, we know we're going to be taking a lot of fights on a lot of corners that we're going to have a lot of brute damage to break through.
Yeah, for sure. I think it needs to be a DPS that gets banned here, like personally. You need to just take something out that, like you were saying, does a lot of that upfront, close and personal type of damage. So, like, I haven't seen a bunch of people run the Venture, but I do think Venture is generally pretty good right now. But it's that same sort of idea. So they didn't opt for the more flexy style. They opted to just get rid of the cast, just the straight frontline damage, like what you were talking about. So, I mean, again, it's a solid pick. We know Cass is really strong, generally speaking. So, solid.
Yeah, I like it. You saw Billboard go out there and literally dominate the first fight on the Cassidy. And it's one thing when it's controlled. If you go out on King's Row and you lose that very first fight on defense like that, it's a bit of a tough road to bounce back from when you give a team, 5.5 minutes to push second. That's really difficult to deal with because it puts a lot more pressure on you as a team. But I like this. It's a solid ban. It's something that's going to alleviate things a little bit for you. And now the question is, how do you respond back to the situation if you are Strike Academy? Because it's not like Cassidy is the be-all and end-all in any situation. No. We still have yet to see anything like the Vendetta or the Venture that tends to be paired up with the Zarya a lot. And if we do go down that Zarya route, one of those two is very likely to make an appearance.
Yeah, that's a likely thing that could happen here. Sojourn still available, able to be picked. We don't see it that often on King's Row, but Widowmaker is still a good pick on this map as well. If you've got that aim like that, if you're nice like that, you can do it. It's a tough ask, but we've seen people do it. Just hop out, get 3 kills immediately, and then you just win. So that's an option for you. I tend to believe that we're either going to see the Orisa or the Zarya here. I was just erring towards the Zarya because I feel like the Zarya into the Ram is a hard matchup, but the Zarya into the Orisa is not as difficult of a matchup, generally speaking. So that would make it make sense to me why Strike Academy wants to get rid of the Ram.
Honestly, it's a really solid way of going about it, honestly. And I tend to agree in this situation, because at the end of the day, while Ramatra I think is still strong, and that's definitely a reason, it offers more options to go with. And I think that is the smartest thing you can do at the end of the day. Because while you love to get rid of one particular character and give yourself that advantage, it's another thing to ban someone specifically so that you are allowed more option. Because if you know you're going to walk into a Zarya, you can't very well run an Orisa into it in a lot of situations. It's really difficult to negate all of that damage. So you almost ban out the Zarya so that you can play the Orisa. That's likely the equivalent of what we're looking at in this situation. But we're ready to get these going for second map. Strike Academy is going to be attacking first. Looking around, we're not going to have any swaps, so we're going to get these going in this second map. Where Strike Academy hoping to bounce back.
They are indeed. Looks like we're seeing a Wrecking Ball pick right now for the time being. It could be a Wrecking Ball. Maybe they just wanted to get rid of the Ravenous Vortex, you know? That could be a thing here as well, just so they don't get their momentum slowed down on ball. So, I don't know. I don't believe it just yet. We're going to have to wait and see what it looks like, but I do think this would be a really solid composition if this is what Strike Academy's running.
We'll see. It's definitely very chaotic. And I feel like Pickle is probably going to swap last second and, just baiting stream. Classic. But you could very well see the ball because there's a lot of chaos. It's not like there's something in there that's going to be able to shut you down super heavily. But we are indeed baited. We have been gaslit. We are bamboozled as the Sigma comes out to play once more. But I think what's really interesting is that Mist and Evelyn are playing the Baptiste and the Ana, respectively, for this defense.
Yeah, it's very interesting, honestly. Like, Evelyn is going to be needing to land these antis super consistently. I mean, you do have the Suzu to cleanse it, but still, you could get some high value out of those antis.
Ooh, speaking of high value, out the gate here, no one named Jeff able to help with that to get rid of Billward super early on. It's going to make it a lot easier. You dominate these high grounds. You force Nightwing completely out of it as Billward more than happy to make that swap immediately over to the Soj. But there is more pressing concerns going on down on the point as you're down at members. You're trying to somehow break it through right here as Cosmic Eclipse, for the time being, doing a good job bursting through. First tick should be online here, and I think it's going to be a lot more than just the one.
It is looking that way if they can manage to get these players off point. And they do. Pickle just doing such a great job on this Sigma right now, consistently getting these final hits.
Yeah, he looks out on Strider, so it's going to slow down the course a little bit right here, but it's the fact that Major Bear is so far back and so far removed from this fight that there's just nothing you can do here and now. With those deaths over onto Mist and Nightwing, you're worried about maybe getting the good spawn, but I believe they're just barely going to get it. So everybody will be here for the fight at the Archways, which, by the way, for defenders, is super important.
Oh, absolutely. This is the one spot where you can really get a solid hold on point 2, I think. You can get one at the end too, but I really like this particular angle. It just allows for so many fights. It allows you to lose a fight and not lose the point.
100%. And already you lose out on Kiyome to get this thing started, so everything kind of slows down for a second right here. And Billward more than happy to keep this aggressive angle over and over again. And you give Mist to him because you're allowed to do that. You're running the double flex in this situation right here. You have the Ana hanging about, but Pickle's gonna go for it. The B has to be used along with the Flux just to make sure Pickle can get it out there. And ends up being a really good decision right here. You're gonna be able to clear out house. It's just Nightwind hanging around in the rafters trying to get out alive, though it's becoming very unlikely.
Oh, I mean, that was 2 ults, but like you said, that was a really good just straight team wipe, and now you're just going to have this super late stagger kill. You're still going to be able to get another touch here. Like I mentioned before, the best part about fighting at that first corner is that you get a second fight before this next point comes up, right? Cosmic Eclipse coming up on their Kitsune rush. They got the Kitsune, they got the Blade, and they have the Overclock, whereas Strike Academy has everything, and they really just need to make sure that they win this fight since they have all 5 ults.
Yep, Strider is getting things going early in the situation, hoping to find a little something, but it is just Ultimania going on for have been pulled within this fight already, making 5 right now. It's the Kitsune Rush trying to get a little bit of value, but it's Nightwing getting 2 with the blade, or not even with the blade in this situation as they're pushing through. It is just complete chaos right now, ladies and gentlemen. But eventually, with Pickle going down, it's just No Man Named Jeff hanging around, trying to stall out and hang around. Unfortunately, just has hit the reset button. That is the equivalent of, I believe, is at least 6 ults used in that fight.
Yes, a very expensive fight coming through for Strike Academy. They had used 4 of their 5. But like I said, you have 5 ultimates. You need to win this fight, right? You can buy yourself a little bit of time with this Amp Matrix that Mist has right now. And all that's available is a blade. And we saw what a blade with nothing else to pair with it does. Now, maybe I could be wrong and it does better. We'll see.
Oh, it's already done better. It's already gotten rid of 1. And it's cutting through body after body. Nightwing eventually is going to be able to break through, but I don't think it's going to be enough. You're going to lose out on body after body. It's just Evelyn and Nightwing hanging around as the resets come through once more. Nightwing this time is going to be able to get out alive, but nearly 4 minutes on the clock still. You're going to have a flux here as well as Evelyn. She's going to swap over towards the Kiriko.
Yeah, I like the Kiriko mirror here. Nano Blade is really, it's a good ult combo, but you can get just as much value trying to do a blade into a Kitsune Rush. You know, those swings can be incredibly fast. Nightwing has fallen off the map and can't get up, so that happened.
That does need to happen as the flux comes out. Immortality Field is going to be able to keep some bodies alive right here, but everybody is still in the hole, and they are going to be taken out in quick fashion here. As now 3 minutes on the clock. This push has been phenomenal for Cosmic Eclipse.
Oh, it absolutely has. Having this much time on King's Row and you're in last fight, oh, this is insane. The Amp Matrix is going to come out from Strike Academy here, though. They're going to need to get some value out of it.
Yeah, you get the last second touch coming through there, but Major Bear is down early, and Nightwing is the one person who could stall things out. Missed. Only ultimate available. He's just gonna get wiped out. This should be a burn away here as No Man Named Jeff has found 1. The beat is going to come out online to try to keep shutting this thing down. Is Major Bear gonna make it back over on that Diva for another touch, but again, it's potentially delaying the inevitable here as Miss Nightwing hoping to make their way back out quick. The Immortality Field going to stall things out a little while longer, but Pickle coming back over on the Wrecking Ball to clear things out. It's going to make it so difficult to hang on to this point. In Shadowfang, it just feels like an inevitability, but it's such a good stall coming out from them, but they just don't have the damage to keep up.
They do not. They managed to stall out like, what, another 30 seconds there, maybe 45. You get it down to 2 minutes, 10 seconds, but still, that's an insane time bank on King's Row, considering most teams get stuck at that last corner of third. But Cosmic Eclipse, again, you know, it's kind of the same thing we were seeing on map number 1. They are just so consistently good with their ult timings and ult usage, right? Strike Academy, that one fight that they won on second point, they had to use 4 ultimates, right? I said right before then, I was like, hey, if you have to burn all these ultimates, you have to burn all these ultimates. But Cosmic Eclipse has not been having to burn that many ultimates to win fights. They're using 1, maybe 2 in their winning fights, whereas Strike Academy is having to burn 3, 4 to win the exact same fights.
Yeah, no, 100%. In having to burn that many ultimates, sometimes it is a situation where you literally have to pull that off. Totally understandable. But when it comes to second point, when you burn all those ultimates, it can create a potential situation where you're just going to get rolled on because you have no ultimates to respond for that fight, obviously, but that affects the next fight afterwards, where if you essentially keep rolling and trucking on forward with nothing to stop you, a team like Cosmic Eclipse is going to take full advantage of that. But if you're Strike Academy, your big thing right here is, hey, don't worry about how much they have on the clock still. Focus on our game. Focus on what we can do right now.
Yes, King's Row is still a very first point holdable map. You know, we are, or no, I'm sorry. You can still cap plenty on this map. And we are seeing the Widowmaker that I mentioned, so hopefully Bill Word can get some good value on that.
Yeah, hopefully so right here as, missed for a moment, a little scary situation as Evelyn gets hit with the accretion from the top row, but she'll be able to stay alive through it all. As you see this aggression onto the high ground, just a full-on rotation, clearing it out, which you like at the end of the day, but now that you have the high ground, you need to be able to get rid of somebody, because if you don't, you're kind of just hanging up. You're putting yourselves in a vulnerable position as everybody's going to try to move up here. And unfortunately for Strike Academy, it is not working out well.
No, it was not. The TP in and the Suzu from the Kiriko. And then this stagger out as well. Major Beast is going to be left as Baby Diva. You know, the classic stagger here. And that is just rough, honestly. But also no real ultimates available from either side just yet, because that was such a prolonged and but also quick fight. It took a long time for it to happen, but when it did happen, it was really, really quick.
100% it was. But you're getting ready to go into this next fight. You've made a couple of swap-ups already with the Ashe and the Sojourn now, so you're kind of playing into the poke game a little bit more, which I don't hate in this situation right here. But you're going to have to move in. The Word is in a rough situation now. Gate can be able to survive, but Mist cannot say the same thing. And now you're going to a fight where you've already lost somebody. You're pincered at both sides. And again, you're being burnt away. And Major Bear is going to be staggered. Well, actually, I was going to say even worse than before, but gets the mercy kill here.
Yeah, that's good at least. You know, you're not stuck at being staggered. But it's just kind of like Strike Academy is taking so much poke damage on their engages right now. And it's not really leaving room for them to even rotate, because, like, you know, we keep seeing somebody die in the middle of their rotation, like, every single time. Bill Word opting for the Bastion now just to try and get some form of threat behind their damage here.
Yeah, and now we're going to have Flux thrown in. There's a lot of bodies in there and a lot of deaths going into form as Major Bear, again, last one alive, and is, again, going to get staggered out, and this is just a rough situation to deal with, as not even going to be able to get back into the mech.
It's rough. And like I mentioned before, we saw 2 ultimates get used from the side of Cosmic Eclipse, and now they're early Kitsuneing, which is going to allow them to try and build up those other 2 ultimates that they just used again.
100%, and now we're nearly pressing spawns at this point. Minute on the clock, bomb thrown out to try to find anything, and Kyume, of all people, gets caught out, and now this is going to open up the door to start moving forward. Pickle needs a little bit of help. He comes out to sustain through it a little bit more. You see the copy over onto the Bastion, but a Strike Academy trying to roll forward. Pickle needs to be kept alive to have any chance in this fight right here. Great accretion onto Nightwing to keep things going. Unfortunately, burnt down eventually. His first tick will come through here, and with Strider falling and Noma named Jeff right behind him, this point will be capped, but that is an excellent first defense here for Cosmic Eclipse.
I mean, that's all it took. It just took one Diva Bomb coming out from Major Bear, catching out the Kiriko, you know, catching out the Kiriko early there. You lose your healing. Sound Barrier can only do so much when you're staring down a Kitsune Rush and a Bastion, right? You can only deny so much damage before it just becomes too much without your Kiriko alive.
100%. It's so rough to sustain with just the Lucio. Again, the B had to be used just to try to stay alive in that fight, and it works for a little bit, in all fairness, but it just takes more than that at the end of the day. But though we're more than happy to keep this going, the artillery strike is going to be used to try to make a little bit more space, put them in a good position, and while it doesn't find anything, it's going to force everybody back. Flux manages to get quite a few members. They'll be going down as a direct result quite yet, but eventually it's going to cause the DPS to go down. Strike Academy again with the reset button. Major Bear again going to be staggered out.
And I mean, that's kind of what we saw right there. That's the rough part of playing Bastion when you're at this level, is the second you notice where the Bastion is, you're just going to get killed immediately, right? Bastion has such a massive hitbox, and players at this level know exactly where to play at to just kind of dodge that damage and just make sure they're able to one-shot Bastion before they ever poke their heads out.
Oh, absolutely. It's tough dealing with the Bastion sometimes, but right now, it's Cosmic Eclipse doing a good job of it right here as they take the trade out. Lucian the Lucio is going to cause Strike Academy to slow down significantly, but they are able to start bringing this point forward a bit. But Nightwing and Major Bear are happy to be in this situation and invest a little bit. It hasn't worked out too well, but everyone is alive as bomb can be thrown out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody going to go down as a direct result, and Pickle kind of lucky to be alive right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, as you say it, the down goes Pickle.
Yeah, luck not working out too well, but they're clearing things out, and now they're in Final Fight territory for the second point, but Cosmic Eclipse have so much available.
They do. Strike Academy has both of their support ultimates, so you could potentially get some good value here, but with Cosmic Eclipse having the extra ultimates on their side and in their favor, I get the feeling we're just going to see the ults matched.
Yep, beat's going to be used from both sides because Cinder Rush is still available for QMA and Evelyn. QMA has let it loose first right here as you see the investment at the end of the day. Everybody forced back. Pickle in such a rough spot. Again, just barely able to stay alive in so many of these fights with less than a meter to go, though. It's becoming a rough situation to try to hold out. Your DPS are gone once more. Major Bear still hanging around, and unfortunately, this is probably going to do them in right here as Evelyn gets the Mega Health Pack. Last person alive. She wants to be able to try to get the overtime touch. It's just not going to happen.
Oof, and there you go. Cosmic Eclipse going to take map number 2 as well. And it was kind of dominant fashion, but also there was some good moments for Strike. It was very similar to map number 1, honestly. Strike Academy had their moments where they were looking good, but Cosmic Eclipse just looks like they understand what situations they're in as a team a little bit better. They understand how to position on the map a little bit better. Just real macro things like that are really just causing them to be ahead right now.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a really good situation for them and how they are dictating a lot of these fights, because they do this with a certain level of aggression as well. That, to be fair, isn't overly bearing in its own right, but the way they want to go about it is they're only aggressive when they need to be aggressive. You see Strike Academy is trying to take these very aggressive fights a lot of the time, but Cosmic Eclipse isn't letting them get away with it. They're able to push themselves out and put themselves in a more passive position where they can sustain each other and regroup. And the moment somebody steps in too far, they get punished. And that's the way that Eclipse has been able to go about it. And it's been, obviously, extremely successful for them to do so. But I think the biggest thing overall, Shadow Fang, for most of these fights has been that ultimate management where you see Strike Academy use 3 for ults in one fight. To this point, Cosmic Eclipse maybe has done that once, and outside of that, it's been really consistent about deciding, hey, what's worth investing and what's not.
Yeah, I would say Cosmic is doing a good job of only doing that when they're being matched, right? Like we saw in that last fight, right? They both had 2 support ultimates on each side, so they're like, okay, we need to pop something on top of this to really give us the opportunity to win this fight, instead of just having it be an even fight. Why not give ourselves the advantage here? But in other fights, Strike Academy just doesn't have anything, right? So you can just walk in, just a gravitic flux, that's enough. That is enough. Take down everybody by half their HP total, and then just have everybody follow up with some extra damage to finish them off.
100%. Really good performance by Cosmic Eclipse on match point now. Hoping to close this one out quickly, get a 3-0 in your second week, be able to put yourself in a good position going forward for the rest of your games leading up to the mid-season tournament. Because while they've lost that first game, a 3-1 puts you in a pretty good position in terms of making that mid-season. You would love to go down that route and be able to show what you've got against some of the other great teams that you haven't gotten the opportunity to go against yet. So obviously, great for them, but job is not done yet. Job's not finished. You still got to close this one out. You cannot let Strike Academy go into the situation and start to get more of their confidence and more of a sense back of what they need to do here, because they have shown glimpses of brilliance in some of these fights. 100% they have. But it is a level of consistency that Cosmic Eclipse has that Strike Academy currently needs to find.
Yes, they do. They do, honestly. And I think, again, map pick is going to be a big determining factor in that. We saw Strike Academy start opting towards that diva towards the latter half of King's Row, right? And with that being said, I see no reason why you wouldn't opt for a more dive-oriented map, Like, try and force Cosmic off this Sigma composition that we've been seeing, right? Now, whether that's banning Sigma or just going to a map where it's not necessarily beneficial to play Sigma, I think that's where you need to err more towards first, right? You go to a map where it's not really beneficial to play the Sigma, and then you can maybe force then you can start playing mind games with trying to ban the Sigma out in later maps where it might be more beneficial. But first things first, we got to win this next upcoming map, and I think it needs to be an escort map.
I think it does as well. And you could very well go down the route of a Gibraltar in this situation and force the all-out dive in this situation. Obviously, you have like the other selections, but the thing is, outside of escort, you have push and flashpoint, which to me never scream dive. I mean, Esperanza is one that you could definitely force a dive into. But if you want to go down that route, Gibraltar feels like the way to go. But it's not going to be Gibraltar. It's still going to be escort, though, Shadowfang, as we kind of surmised to this point. But it's going to be Route 66. That's going to be our third and potential final map.
It's still the same idea here, right? You pretty much have to play a dive comp on Route 66. You can maybe get away with something else on third point, but first and second point, you definitely want to be running those more dive style compositions. It just takes too long to get on top of these buildings otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, we'll see what Trigger Academy opts to do, because they'll get that first ban once more, and obviously it'll be their last chance to ban first throughout the series, more than likely. We'll see what route they want to go down with that Ramatra and Tracer already having been banned out earlier. This could be a situation where you opt to get rid of the Sigma here and force things down a different route and try to find some success forcing something outside of it. Because again, when things weren't fully into the Sigma earlier, you saw Strike Academy doing a lot of good things back over on Nepal. But it's going to be the Echo instead, which I think is a little fascinating.
Oh, I was going to say Echo. We saw how good that Echo was at creating those kill boxes on map number 2, right? It was either, to me, it was Ash or Echo was your two picks here, right? Because either one of those two heroes can still be played on Route 66, and you don't think the Sigma can necessarily be played here, so you don't feel the need to ban it, right? But you don't want to deal with that Echo just spamming those sticky bombs, because we saw constantly people just getting picked off by them. Now, again, this is a lot more open map, so I feel like it's a lot more difficult to land those sticky bombs, but I understand the thought process in that, hey, we just kind of got dusted by this hero, so let's just get rid of it. Cosmic Eclipse not really being super threatened by anything. They can't ban the D.Va here, so I think you just go with like a Kiriko, a Baptiste. They're going to ban the Sigma. All right, that's fine too.
That is definitely fascinating. Again, it's fascinating at the end of the day. The Sigma's gone. It feels like Cosmic Eclipse has had a fair amount of progress on the Sigma, but you were seeing it as the series has progressed a little bit, specifically more King's Row progressed. You saw Meiji Bear starting to get a little bit more even in that situation, and I think this is a way to stem that momentum or really shut it down, but it also says that, hey, they want to go with something else here. And you could very well see the Divas come into play, things like the Winston, at the ready. Maybe the Ramatra comes back for all we know. It's obviously going to be a bit of a shakeup with the fact that we've seen Sigma so consistently in this game today. But if they're doing it, they are confident with whatever tank they're running instead.
Oh, they absolutely are incredibly confident. I'm going to guess that we're going to see D.Va mirrors here, because I think the Winston, it's harder to get the same level of value that you can get out of the D.Va. So, like, you can potentially get a higher level of value on the Winston, but the D.Va just gives you more inherent value.
Yeah, 100%. But we're going to have a swap for the first time in this series here today. It's going to be at the DPS position, so it's going to be a bit of a backseat for Know My Name Jeff at the end of the day, because Nitsipata is going to be coming in for this one and potentially this final map as well. We'll see what kind of difference it is at the end of the day. Cosmic Eclipse does have those few subs waiting in the wings to be able to take over and do what needs to be done. But obviously, we'll see how much that affects the situation. But again, if you put somebody in, you normally do it with a pretty good level of confidence that, hey, we're going to keep trucking forward and do what we do best.
I've got to be honest, dude. I'm really surprised at the lack of Tracer we've seen today. Now, granted, Tracer got banned map 1, but I don't know. I'm always surprised to just not see the hero come out because I think you can accomplish everything you can on Genji, but also more. Like it's kind of like what I was talking about with the Winston of the Diva, right?
Yeah.
You can get that value of Genji just being able to take these high grounds and whatnot. Tracer can do the exact same thing. I like Pulse. I like Pulse Bomb. It's more consistent than the Blade as well. So I don't know. I expect to see like a Tracer duel on this map, and maybe that's why we saw the swap come in. I know their favorite hero there was listed as being Genji, but maybe they are the Tracer player.
Just maybe so. We'll see momentarily if that's to be the case right here, as heading into this one, Cosmic Eclipse is going to be the team attacking this time around. Once again, I should add. But we do see the Diva on display from Major Bear, which I'm loving, by the way. Been waiting to see that throughout the series. We'll see if the Hazard 6 or not, because I don't see a whole lot of Hazard in North America. I've definitely seen it played a significant amount in like Latin America, South America, but not so much over here.
It's kind of like you're like a mix between two things running Hazard, right? That's kind of the difficult part with the hero. You're kind of diving and you're kind of brawling. You're kind of doing a couple of things, and Hazard's damage numbers aren't tweaked to the point where it's super beneficial to do that over doing something like a Diva or a Winston instead, or picking like a full-on Orisa if you just want to play the brawling style.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see how well this works out, though, on this Hazard 4 Pickle, as Nightwing started struggling a little bit to stay alive. Again, you're going to get a lot of pressure from Pickle over on this Haz. If you are caught out, it is really easy to be punished by something like a Hazard. But Shadowfang, you could say something pretty similar about a Diva as well, who has so much staying power, and if you are bursted down with those missiles, your health disappears.
Oh, absolutely. Being able to just dive in, that's kind of like how you play Diva at this point. You wait for somebody to be low enough that you can missile them to death, and then you go in and missile them to death. And then that's just kind of the rotation that you do as Diva constantly now.
Oh, consistently, yeah. But Big Burn right there, is gone and taken care of, as Evelyn more than happy to find the finish. But Strike Academy, this defense for them is so major at the end of the day to be able to hold on to this first point as long as humanly possible. And to be fair, it's a scenario where they have the comp to do so, but you can't lose Nightwing like that.
Yeah, that's really tough to lose them so early. But, it just means Bill World needs to get a really solid Dynamite off and get some follow-up damage in here.
No, I mean, Bower's definitely doing that. Has been really consistent throughout the day. You see that aggression over on the top row. Zapata has been in this game hoping to do a little something, but Nightwing takes advantage in this one right here, as they're going to be able to close things out once again. That aggression over on the top rope, though, as with them being cleared out, Strike Academy now halfway there, and so far look fantastic.
And you're seeing Pickle swap over to the Diva. It's just like I was saying. You can't dive effectively enough on Hazard to deal with the Diva because Hazard's damage numbers just aren't at that point yet.
Yep. Nano is out though on Nightwing. Blade not available quite yet, but honestly, he clearly doesn't need to be right now. Already hasn't gotten rid of its vert. Able to start cleaning things out a little more. Pickle is given the Nano, might have been DMAC'd elsewise, as Zapata, again, also lucky to be alive. The aggression being kept up at the end of the day now, as Pickle stays in the mech and the bomb thrown out. Pokebomb in 2026, as Pickle is knocked back out of the mech.
That's a funny moment right there. Pickle just going to be stuck out of mech, and Bill Ward just doing the absolute most on this Ashe right now. Pickle opting to jump off the mech. It just takes too long to get your suit back otherwise, right? I completely agree with you right there, Pickle.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do right there. But now you got a minute left on the clock. You have double DPS ultimate. You're gonna have to rally as well. But We're just gonna have this ability to shut everybody down with this bomb when the time comes. And you would love to avoid it, but that's just so difficult to do.
It really is. We've seen Bill World do such a great job with the bomb placements as well so far. So I would be concerned about that coming in if I'm Cosmic Eclipse.
Yep, but here comes the Blade and the Overclock being thrown out here, but it's the Bob again that's finding the major success here for Strike Academy. Is Strider going to move up? Evelyn taken care of here. Now you lose out on some of that significant healing. It's down to Mist to keep his team going. But still, it's a good situation for Strike Academy. You still have your own blade at the ready, and Mist can sustain at any time with their amplification matrix.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the benefits of having that, as the blade does come out, does manage to get one, which is, you know, something.
Yeah, and Pickle's going to have the bomb to be able to sustain in this fight, and will remech on top of that. Unfortunately, I think with Major Bear out of the mech, this is going to be too difficult to pull this one back around. You would love to commit full hold, but I think at this stage of the game, you need to keep everybody alive. Back out as Billward is going to try to commit one more time over to the point, and he's going to be able to burn quite a bit and stay alive. So maybe I spoke a little too soon here. It's everyone in a rough position. They still need to finish this one out right here as Evelyn Nano thrown directly over on the Nightwing, who's going to try to take that level of aggression, but the boys are going back and forth, trying to find something here as you see Cosmic Eclipse trying to keep bodies over on this point, sustain through it all, but with Major Bear back on the point, with the bomb ready to be put on the point, we are looking at potential full hold territory as they're going to go for that dive and find the finishes, and the full hold will come to form. And Strike Academy right now, Shadow Fang, looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah, this is exactly what you wanted to see from Strike Academy, right? Just having the ability to play that effective defense, put Billward on that high ground, on that Ash, and just really have him popping off consistently throughout this entire map, getting the good use out of having that double flex support composition, and that even though you lost Evelyn, you still had a full Baptiste in the back line. That is enough to heal your entire team, you know, so just honestly making some great plays right there overall.
Absolutely fantastic. But now that you committed the full hold, you need to try not to be held even harder than that, because this first point can be difficult for teams to break through. That's not some surprise, ladies and gentlemen. We've been experiencing this for nearly 10 years now, this map just being really difficult for some teams to deal with breaking through that first point. But still, Strike Academy, they look fantastic. And again, a lot of the compliments that we gave earlier to Cosmic Eclipse, you can kind of reflect on the Strike Academy here. They never took super aggressive fights. They kept their poke game working. They made sure Major Bear stayed in that mech consistently, and Nightwing was the one person who was able to kind of take these different angles and was able to be kept up through it all. So it's a great performance. You just have to match it here and close out the map.
Yes, I am a little bit concerned here with Strike Academy swapping over to the Lucio when they were playing that Ana before. I feel like the Nano Blade was really effective at just allowing Nightwing to just live while using the blade, and that's going to be significantly more difficult when you don't have that Nano available to you.
10%. It's going to be difficult, but Cosmic Eclipse, they looked amazing before. They're hoping to try to close this one out. It's going to be a tough hold by all stretches of the imagination, but here comes that aggression from Major Bear, forcing his way in there, but at the end of the day, not a whole lot, as that's going to be a big burn coming through. Might not matter too much, though, as well. Major Bear does take a little nap. It's still Cosmic Eclipse getting pushed back so heavily, getting nearly wiped off the board here as they're going to keep pressing forward, trying to keep some bodies alive right here as well. Nightwing has gone down. It's still a DMEC available, and at this point, you're almost ready to happily skip your way into the point. It's just Strider touching.
Yeah, this is going kind of quick if you're Strike Academy right now. If you manage to just get this kill onto Vert, you should be able to just cap outright after that. I don't think there's going to be any more touches here. And no, there is not. Strike Academy going to take this map and, you know, start trying to get this reverse sweep going in their favor.
It feels like those first two maps didn't even happen for Strike Academy. They go into this one forgetting everything that happened in the past hour of this game. And they go in, and I think they do a phenomenal job of managing their aggression a lot more. And instead of being the aggressors and falling into the hands of how Cosmic Eclipse wanted them to play, instead, they say, okay, we don't need to take these fights right here. We can take our poke. You need to come to us. And it's a phenomenal job on their part to do so. And I like the way they've bounced back into this one.
Yeah, and you know, with them picking the escort like you and I were talking about before this map happened, you've given yourself the ability to ban the Sigma on a later map where it will prove more troublesome. And I get the feeling that Cosmic Eclipse is going to force a map that is very beneficial to Sigma. We have Flashpoint and Push available here, which, I mean, you can technically run it. You know what? I'm just gonna. They're probably just gonna run it because I didn't think it was gonna be like a crazy good pick on Kings Row, and that's what we were running on Kings Row. So, hey, I see no reason why you wouldn't just pick Saravasa and just run Sigma on Saravasa. You know, like that could be the play that happens right here.
Yeah, I think that's a very likely route you go down because remember, it is just Flashpoint and Push available. So most of these maps are going to fall under that route of, hey, this is how you're going to take a lot of these fights on these particular maps anyway. Obviously from there, it's where you decide to go with the ban order. Because remember, the D.Va was banned out in that first map already. You can't go back to that wheelhouse. You have to try to go somewhere else with it. And you could opt to go for something like the Ana, because I think you were getting a lot of value if you're Strike Academy with something like the Ana, or even the Baptiste for that matter. I think Mist in particular was getting away with so much on the Baptiste throughout that entire map.
Yeah, there is an option too to also, side note, we did get our map pick in, and no surprises here. It's Saravasa. I felt like of every map, this is probably the flattest Flashpoint map that we have available. So, and everybody's more familiar with it than they are with Atlas. I think there's people that still have only played Atlas like a couple times at this point because it just doesn't, I swear it doesn't show up in the map rotation that often, even in comp.
It just does not. And for some teams, that can be a bit of an advantage, even if it feels like we're kind of far past some of the points of, a map being quote-unquote new. But with Saravasa in this case, these fights should stay quick. And while you can definitely throw the D.Va back out in this situation, we'll see what the case is going to be, as again, the D.Va and the Sigma have already been banned in Cosmic Eclipse. Actually, nobody has yet to ban a single support.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, you go for the BAP, you go for the Ana. You've seen it super consistently that probably the BAP has got to be the pick here, because if you're running Ana Lucio, I mean, that's tough. That's really tough to try and do something with. So I think BAP has to be your clear ban here. So that's my final answer. I'm gonna buzz that one in. I think it's going to be a BAP ban coming through, and it's a venture, not even remotely close to what I thought it was
close. What do you mean?
No, never mind, it's Vendetta.
Okay, well, logic still applies, and to be fair, I don't blame. It's Vendetta at the end of the day. You know what? That is what it is. It's such a strong character, especially if you think that your enemy is going to potentially run something like a Zarya at some point. You just don't want to deal with that. You don't want that chaos in your life. I don't blame you at all. But Strike Academy now have their option. And to be fair, with what's left in the pool right here, it feels like you go support, and they will. But they'll go with the Ana here.
That's
and I don't mind. We saw Ana play on both sides, so I don't hate this at all.
No, not at all. We're seeing the Vendetta ban come out as well as the Ana. Now, this does leave open the option to run like that BAP Lucio Sig comp that we were seeing a little bit of, which at this point, I'm just expecting both teams to walk out on Sigma-based compositions, just based on what we've seen so far. It seems like that's what both teams want to do for the most part. Strike Academy does love their composition, but side note, we have a couple of substitutions coming in here for Cosmic Eclipse. Know My Name Jeff coming back in on that DPS line, and then Conk has swapped in on that support line as well. Looks like that's potentially just their Lucio player. You definitely want your Lucio player in for Flashpoint.
Yeah, Vert's been in this situation, but Conk does appear to be their main Lucio player, so perhaps putting them at full power, potentially. Who knows how things are going to go in this map. But with that being the case, I think you're going to start seeing a little more aggression from Cosmic Eclipse with No One Named Jeff back in. I feel like that Genji, while it was in play before, I think will likely stay in play. And you're going to see a more aggressive approach because you saw a comfortability before Strike Academy being able to sit back and have things come to them. When you can sit on things like the gas station and a lot of these other high grounds, it's simple to deal with in a lot of sense. But when you're on equivalent ground, There's no high ground in Boston. Say there is almost no high ground in Sarabasa. It's just the case. So the ability to speed onto somebody is so much easier on Sarabasa, and I think Cosmic Eclipse are here to take full advantage of it.
I'll say too, there is a difference, right? We saw Vert play a lot of that Lucio. There's a difference between a player that plays Lucio and a Lucio player, right? It's a very subtle difference, but like, the Lucio players are those people that like pop Adderalls and drink Monsters right behind it, and then they are just they're just wired for 12 straight hours, right? And all they play is Lucio and Wrecking Ball. I don't know why those two are always so synonymous with each other with players. I don't know if you've noticed that too whenever you've played with people. But it seems like they're just no, I play the silly heroes. I play Lucio, Doom, and Wrecking Ball. That's all I play.
Yeah, I know a little someone who's like that, but we're ready to get into this fourth map and get things going. And interestingly enough, Pickle's over on the Mauga. We get a little Mauga action in 2026. But to be fair, Mauga's not in a terrible position by any means.
No.
But Major Bear is just gonna be really good at managing when it comes to a lot of their cooldowns over here, especially that defense matrix. Because that's what's really gonna shut Pickle down in the situation.
Yes, absolutely. You just got to watch that cardiac overdrive. Make sure you're timing that defense matrix up with the cardiac overdrive, not allowing yourself to be super on fire, and just keeping an eye on that Echo as well, because we saw Echo do such a great job on King's Row.
Yeah, 100%. Pickle in a rough situation once more, has to let those cooldowns loose to try to stay alive. But again, Major Bear saving all those cooldowns. Eventually, business taken care of. The Strike Academy already with the point are going to be able to take their time clearing bodies out. Already in pretty good territory as Pickle, not even going to bother, instantly makes the swap.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great job there from Strike Academy, right? They weren't peeking the Mauga at all. When they did, they were making sure they had full defense matrix before they were walking out. And you just, once that cardiac overdrive is out and you have not healed yourself from it, you don't have anything else as Mauga. So I like this swap from Pickle.
I do too. I like it the other day. We saw a lot of consistency earlier from the Sigma as well. So all things considered, I don't hate it at all. But you got to get something going in this next fight right here. Strike Academy are starting to push on forward and make a big difference here. Nightwing so close to going down. We'll get hit with the accretion. Is still standing though, as it's Pickle, who again is in a rough situation. Strike Academy has been really consistent on marking this tank consistently, but 99% on the board. Good accretion to make some more space. As Billward being taken down means I think you have to give up on this fight. And to be fair, you could try to get everybody out here as Major Bear needs to stay up, and it looks like they should be able to do so as everyone is going to get out alive.
Wow, that is crazy. I thought we were about to have like some super late staggers there coming through for Cosmic, but no, Strike Academy gets out. They have all 5 of their ultimates online here. And this is one of those moments, right? We saw them in the first 2 maps not play this correctly, so I want to make sure that I want to see if they can play this fight correctly and not use all their ultimates.
100%. But they're moving in. Consumer Rush has been activated early on, and you're going to have everything available if you're Cosmic Eclipse. They've already used 3 in this fight right here. B was already used, and Body's pulled down. But through all that, it's just Nightwing who's finally gone down, and downward trend is starting to go their way as Cosmic Eclipse trying to struggle through this. They'll lose out on Pickle, and now they'll lose out even more, and Evelyn has to double down on this fight right here. Try to keep her team moving and grooving. But Major is going to throw out the bomb, which, again, won't find anybody, but it is going to make maybe a little bit of space, but still, they need to force a touch.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They have advantage here. If you can just get one more kill, you should be able to turn this if you're Strike Academy.
Yep, and you're going to be able to get one more touch right there. Conk able to go into the back line super low. He's doing a good job of forcing touch after touch. It's honestly a fantastic job at that. The fact these sports are still standing is phenomenal. But eventually, everything is catching up to him. Evelyn, she manages to get rid of 2 as well. And now, this first point eventually does go to Strike Academy. Great for Cosmic hopes to stay in that, but unfortunately, again, just not enough damage.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being a relatively even ult fight as well, too. So, yeah, much better played there from Strike Academy than we saw them on the first 2 maps, not over-ulting in those instances. We see here, coming into the next fight, Cosmic Eclipse going to have their overclock, which can be denied a lot by that defense matrix. And then Nightwing going to have the Blade, which is incredibly difficult to get good value out of. Like, it just is. You know, it's a hard ult to use. And when you lose Mist early like that, that is not what you want to see if you're Strike Academy.
Yeah, no, 100%. But already, this fight's in a weird spot. Blade thrown out here from Nightwing, who's able to get rid of one, and that's going to be more than enough cleanup to get things going here. You still have Conk and Strider hanging around, but you just have to preserve your life at this point and try to get out alive. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case for neither, as again, Strike Academy managing such good aggression.
Yeah, great job from Strike Academy. You know, like I said, getting 1 kill off the Blade and living, that is huge from Nightwing. And you're starting to build up to these ultimates again. You've got Bomb, which is a good remech tool. We've seen Major Bear throw it out a lot, but I think it's better used as a remech tool, generally speaking. And you just want to try and build up to these other ultimates before this Flux comes online.
Ooh. Yeah, unfortunately, Accretion hits head on, and this is going to just be a big cleanup coming through here. Major Bear will go down, but it is pretty much what you had in your ult bank if you are Cosmic Eclipse, but you will have the Kitsune Rush still available.
You do have the Kitsune Rush. Strike Academy is getting close to their other 4 ultimates. You know, the Attack Visor, the Bomb, Beat is now online, and you're really close on the Kitsune Rush as well. So we could see a lot of ultimates get exchanged from both sides coming up here.
Yeah, Gimme just have that Kitsune Rush available. Evelyn also about to be online with her own, as Strider is down early, just caught out. How much are you willing to invest in for Cosmic Eclipse? It's going to be what you've got. Unfortunately, you are being bared down on. Billward more than happy to finish bodies off, as it's just Strider, who is still back near the spawn. Going to have to take the reset. 66% on the board, and now no ultimates going to the next fight.
Close on the sound barrier is Cosmic Eclipse, but are you going to get a solid touch here? You know, because by the time you're really regrouping, you're looking at like 95% here. You're forcing your Sig up alone. Your Sig has burnt all their cooldowns already. I don't know if I really like this fight.
Yep, Beat's going to be used to buy a Misto, and Conk is right around the corner from having their own as well, as Bomb being thrown up into the air. It's going to create a little bit of space with No Man Named Jeff going down, and Conk is going to invest in the 4v5 here. Thinks it's winnable, and it's an all-out investment from Cosmic Eclipse to try to make it happen. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to work out. The support's still hanging about, but it's just not going to be enough. And next point going through, I heard 6-tuple kill. Haven't heard that in who knows how long, as Map Point Online and Strike Academy is just looking fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I said it when that last second touch was coming in. Pickle had their shield destroyed and had used their grasp before they even touched point, right? Like, that's not the situation you want to be taking a fight in. So it was almost more worthwhile to just give the point up, go to the next one. You did manage to force Beat out of Mist at the very least, and here you have your Gravitic Flux and your Blade online, so you should, by all accounts, win this fight if you're confident.
Yep, big Flux right here. Cleanse, though, used on good timing, but still, Sowing Heal from Strike Academy are low, and No Man Named Jeff goes in for the Blade, is able to get rid of one already, as plenty of cleanup is here, as Major Bear needs to reset, does not want to get demeched, as will be the sole survivor. But you look back at how much went down back on King's Row, where they were getting demeched consistently.
Yeah, like I said, much better job overall by the side of Strike Academy of just using their ults better and just having their ults online constantly. I mean, look here again. Yeah, you know, Nightwing gonna have that Blade. You're getting close on your sound barrier, and then you just immediately take down No My Name's Jeff before you even walk in.
100%, and that's rough. And now this fight, if you want to call it a fight, is already done and dusted. You're going to have to just fall on to the point. You get an extra few percentage here, but 57% on the board. Conk lucky to be out, by the way. And now you have all 5 ultimates available if you're Strike Academy, and Pickle swaps again.
Yeah, Pickle gonna opt for the Ramatra here, going for the more, I don't know, brawly, tanky style. You know, Sig is difficult to get rid of, but Ramatra is near impossible to get rid of if any supports are alive. That block is just insane. And, you know, both sides going to have their Kitsune Rushes available, so I expect to see that early as Billward goes down.
Yeah, and that bomb thrown out there won't get anybody, but Major Bear clamps down on 2 right there. I don't know how that gets pulled off, but that could be defining for the series right there. as No Mind and Jeff cleared out, and now one fight remaining. Double DPS ultimates on the line.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy. To squash both supports, and the worst part of that is, if Conk lives a little bit longer, you probably have beat for this fight. Because Conk died so early, you're 80 on beat. And that is just rough. You gotta deal with 2 support ults, or you gotta deal with 2 DPS ults with no beat.
Yeah, you got to a good start here, though, but Nightwing has been really good at bringing these fights back. We're down to the 2v3, though. It's just Nightwing and Major Bear. Unfortunately, Major Bear is just making his way back into the fight. Might be able to get rid of one, but I think you have to kind of die on this point. But instead, they're not, but will get reset, so you will get plenty of time to set up for one more fight.
One more fight going to be available here. You got enough time to get a solid touch, too. But as I mentioned, Conk not having the beat last fight, Conk does have the beat this fight, which bodes very poorly for the side of Strike Academy. You've got Tac Visor, but again, Sound Barrier and a Blade you're dealing with on the other side. This is going to be a tough retake for Strike Academy.
Yeah, but, I mean, Conk is just up too far, quite honestly. And now, you've lost one this early. You don't have your Sound Barrier for this fight. No Man and Jeff is going to have to clutch up this entire thing. And it's also lucky to be alive right now, but Pickle wants to keep them in this one. They need to be able to commit a retouch. Will eventually do so, but Pickle dies at the expense of it. His point can flip over, and the beat and the blade thrown in. It's everything on the board here. As bomb thrown over onto the point, forcing everybody away. It's going to start everybody falling apart, and they're going to clear house. Strike Academy is going to take the point, and it is worth noting what just happened there. They did just clear them away, and unfortunately, they legit just didn't make it back to the points.
Yeah, the Major Bear bomb, right? You gotta dodge the Diva bomb, right? And it lasts just long enough that you aren't able to retouch that point right there, even though Cosmic Eclipse was definitely winning that fight. Like there is no doubt in my mind Cosmic Eclipse was definitely winning that fight. And we've got ourselves a 2-2 series somehow, Hunter. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
Listen, I've had something like this so recently happen to the point where it no longer surprises me when these things happen, because it feels like 2 completely different series, doesn't it? Because this is not the same Strike Academy team that we saw back on King's Row. This feels like a much different team. And it's phenomenal by them to pull this one back and make it happen. Because you see Cosmic Eclipse trying to find answers, but they're not really getting any in this situation. And now it has their backs fully against the wall, because now it is fully momentum going the way of Strike Academy. And now that you're in the situation where you're in the 5th map, your terms of map choices is limited to 3. In your ability to ban, you've taken out most of the major bans already, so it puts you in a bit of a difficult position.
Yeah, burning the Diva ban on map 1 is looking like, oh boy, what in the world can we do at this particular point in time now? So definitely a tough spot to be in on map 5 when you don't have something that is clearly like, this is what we get rid of. You don't have a clear answer to that question right now.
We do not, but it's right now a situation where you need to find this answer if you're Cosmic Eclipse. It's a rough situation for them to be in right now. Everything currently kind of in consideration, but at the end of the day, you gotta find it. There is no better way to say it, and whatever that solution is, you gotta find it right now, because you are running out of time and you are running out of options.
Yes, I would definitely tend to agree with you on that, but I would also say, stick around and find out. We're going to go to a short little break here. Let everybody get their minds prepped and ready for this map 5. So, just stick around. You definitely want to see how this one's going to end.
Everybody, welcome back once more to this amazing series here before us. It was looking like it might be a quick night here for Cosmic Eclipse, but Strike Academy have bounced back in a way that we haven't seen throughout this entire series. They win back-to-back, and they're going to bring it to a 5th and final map to end out the series in Shadowfang. I say it before, but I mean no level of exaggeration. This is not the same Strike Academy we saw before. The way they have developed over this series and the way they bounce back from being down 0-2, they look fantastic right now, and Cosmic Eclipse is struggling to find the answers in this one.
Yeah, they really are. It's been a tale of two series, as you said previously. You know, map 1 and 2 largely dominated by Cosmic Eclipse, and maps 3 and 4, well, you can see it right there. We had a full hold on Route 66. We had a 3-0 on Saravasa, right? So both teams just taking turns dominating each other. Is this going to be like the Cavs and Warriors in 2016, where teams just dominated each other every game, and then Game 7 was actually the good one?
Let's go with that. Let's say that that's how it's going to go down. But we have the last bands in order here. Shadowfang and Cosmic Eclipse get the honor of doing so to get things going. And again, you look on how that map went, and I genuinely wonder what route you decided to go down here, because again, with the Diva and Cassidy already gone, I struggle to think of what is something you could take out that has been shutting you down this significantly.
I feel the same way. Soldier, I mean, that makes sense. We saw them playing a good bit of that Soldier 76. It removes the mobility aspect, which could be incredibly useful on this map. I like to say that Soldier is like Tracer Light, because you still get that same sort of mobility around the map. You just kind of poke from more distance than Tracer typically would.
Yeah, 100%. Now Strike Academy have their own ban around the corner, and this is going to be interesting no matter what route you decide to go down, because it doesn't feel like any of the tanks that are kind of left on the board are going to see much use. We saw the Hazard earlier, but I don't think it got the value that Cosmic Eclipse wanted out of it. So this opens up the door to go down this board and saying, hey, what's something we don't think we're going to play that we just don't want to deal with? Maybe that's the... Wow, I was actually going to say the Brig. Well, I mean, I'll take it. Brig is out of the rotation now on this 5th and final map. And while we haven't really seen any Brig, it can be really difficult to deal with, especially if we go to a situation where these teams, for the first time in the series, opt for actual dive.
Yeah, it can be incredibly difficult for sure. And, you know, especially with Vert coming back in for Conk, you know, Vert is the more, I would say, flexible player is what it seems like so far, at least. So Vert could attempt to opt for that Brigitte pick. So it's good to just not have it available. Because I think Winston can deal with Brig pretty effectively. Diva, it's more difficult because you got to break the whole shield, essentially, to try and deal with Brig.
100%. It is definitely difficult to deal with in a lot of senses, but I think it's for being back in here. Maybe it brings the team new light, because if we're talking statistically here, you know, for coming back in, he's clearly excited, by the way, as you could tell in the chat, to get these going with this 5th and final map of our night here. But Strike Academy, they have been here with the only 5 they have. They're tried and true to try to finish this one out. And while nothing is surprising over on the side of Strike Academy, nothing's particularly surprising for Cosmic Eclipse either. I think this is both teams having their swords in front of them and knowing, hey, this is our bread and butter. This is what we know how to do.
Yeah, definitely agreeing with you there. And I kind of like the Sojourn pick over the Cass here, just because of the mobility, being able to jump into the train station at the beginning of the map here in the middle. Just having that little extra slide and ability to jump onto the high ground that Cass doesn't have, I feel like is going to be more useful in this instance. But we'll see. Bill World has been making everything work when they've been playing it.
Yeah, that Cassidy has been outstanding thus far. But as we say that, first one taken out of this arrangement. Miss wants to find a level of aggression, but unfortunately it's just in a rough scenario. So for Cosmic Eclipse, it's going to be a great start for him, as Major Bear going to try to get out with that mech intact. Close to being knocked out in that situation, and they will, and that's honestly devastating right there.
Yeah, that's rough. You pretty much got to go jump off the map if you're Major Bear right now. That's like your It's your only choice. I mean, you could try and get your suit back, but by the time you get your suit back, you're going to basically be at checkpoint.
I think you have to at this point. You're just too far committed. We'll get it here in a few seconds. Is close to getting pressured out, but will be able to remap. But the damage has already been done in a lot of senses. 40 meters and counting to get things going. There's a little bit of attack going on the back line, and to be fair, you might see someone just, commit to the point right there. Strider doesn't care. I'm taking this point right here. I'm going to keep this pushing forward. Unfortunately, the counterpart has been taken out, and Strider potentially to follow through here, but things are starting to go back both ways, but Billward being back into the fight wants to shut this down right here and now, as for the time being, Eclipse at least needs to kind of regroup.
Yeah, and doing a good job of doing that, right? Just backing up, making sure you get all that nice, juicy support ult charge. Side note, Evelyn going to have their Kitsune rush in 5%. Having that advantage could be absolutely massive for Strike Academy in this next fight.
Absolutely would be. They're going to try to flip this map a little bit right here, and Kitsune rush going to be thrown out, but Evelyn, she's already gone, and now you're struggling to pull this fight back. You've invested 2 ultimates into this fight compared to Eclipse, who's just used the 1, but this is somehow still a position where you're trying to win this. Billward has gotten rid of 2 already. Unfortunately, the rest of the team's just not there to follow up on things. You have Yume, who is sitting at 1 health, somehow is still hanging in there to be able to survive, and that is an excellent stop for Cosmic.
Well, plus side, if you're Strike Academy, you get 37 meters, so, it's not nothing at the very least. Mist still a little behind on that sound barrier charge. I think that's gonna make this next fight a little bit rough. You'd really like to have that sound barrier online for all the ults Cosmic Eclipse has. Yeah,
and they're going to double down with support ultimates to try to get this thing locked in here and now. If Naomi stays up, you could see a fight back here, but unfortunately, I think without that being the case, you need to reset here. No one named Jeff being gone is great, but everyone is just so secluded right here, and this is going to be a punishing fight to lose right here, as this meter is just probably going to reach into the realms of like 80 at least.
Oh, absolutely. And again, if you're Strike Academy, right, on maps 1 and 2, we would see them kind of almost overreact in these moments and overcommit. You don't necessarily need to overcommit. You need to just... Here comes the beat engage from Strike Academy already. Take it down 1.
Yeah, it's a double whammy here, but it works out pretty well, as rough scenario just can't hit the final shot. Now, no one named Jeff Michael actually should be able to get out of here alive and regroup with the team, but everyone's got the forward spawn, so they can regroup very quickly.
Yeah, that's the tough part about giving up that checkpoint. Those forward spawns can be very tough to break through. Overclock, Blade, and that Gravitic Flux that we've seen Pickle be so good with are going to be available here, so that's going to be a tough thing. That Gravitic Flux coming out once again, and actually does not get a kill.
Yeah, Major Bear was really good to save some of that, but Nightwing is shut down, and Strider's already gotten rid of 2. You saw that bomb go up. Unfortunately, doesn't take anybody down, and Major Bear needs to run for the hills to get out of here alive. We'll be able to, as regroup with the rest of the team.
And again, they're just, you didn't have the sound barrier or anything online to really deal with that flux, so you're just kind of stuck. You're just kind of stuck in a bad ult chamber at this point, where your sound barrier is not going to be able to deny any of these ultimates, as the Blade does now come out from Cosmic.
Yeah, and we're lucky to be hanging in there right there, as it's kind of in a similar situation. He is getting pushed back, but the meterage has increased an extra 10 during this fight, so that lead extended a little bit more, and now you lose out on the Cassidy. This opens up a fantastic door for Cosmic Eclipse to double down and try to end this thing. At the very least, put it in a position where it's going to be so hard to fight back, and I think they are very much in that position right now.
Yeah, you really want to catch this before it hits 100 meters. Like, the 100 meters is so hard to recover from on this mode. So this is definitely the fight you want to take if you're Strike Academy.
Yep, the roll down. Beat has been activated. Consider Rush thrown out in a 3v5. I don't think it's going to accomplish a whole lot. You keep your supports alive, but Major Bear's not kept alive, and you're going to double down in here. Pickle's going to get rid of everybody else that's alive, and now you're in final fight territory, and you have to bum rush to this point.
Yes, you absolutely do. You have a sound barrier if you can manage to actually get out of the spawn doors, which it doesn't look like Strike Academy is going to be able to do.
Yeah, and as much as things went back and forth, it is a deflating finish here as Cosmic Eclipse gonna clear this thing out, take it in map 5 fashion. Again, we said they needed to figure out the answers. Well, I mean, Shadowfang, it says it for itself, but they figured it out.
Yes, they absolutely did. They got back into the form we saw them on in maps number 1 and 2. Just great ult usage once again, and Strike Academy not finding that same level of value with their ultimates that they were finding on maps 3 and 4. They flipped again. They flipped sides.
It's essentially what happened, and it's rough in that situation to be able to pull it back like that. Unfortunately, not be able to finish things out, but still, this shows what Strike Academy can do as a team with this and the rest of the season. Because if you can go into a team like Cosmic Eclipse, you push them this far, and you take 2 of these maps very convincingly, I think you have every reason to kind of be hopeful towards the future and really take in what you experience here today. Because if you can do it to them, I feel like you can go and do it with most of these teams. So you just got to keep your head high and bounce back from it. But for Cosmic Eclipse, they got that first win of the season and keep themselves in contention for the mid-season playoffs.
Yeah, very, very important to keep yourself in contention for that. Not necessarily the best map differential per se, but a win is a win is a win, and that's what you've got to be thinking right now. If you're Cosmic Eclipse, get the monkey off your back, if you will. You don't have 0 wins anymore. You got 1 win now, and then we can continue stacking that forward as we continue along into the season.
Yeah, 100%. If you can get 1, you can definitely get more. But it's good for them in that situation. But it's been a long series for both of these teams right here. But our night, we're not quite done yet. We're going to bring it to one more break for our evening. But when we come back, we're going to have an interview from one of the members of our winning squad, Cosmic Eclipse. So stick around. We'll be back in just a couple short minutes.
Lots of love. Love. Got lots of love. Love. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo.
Everybody, welcome back from our break after our banger Map 5 series to round out our evening. And Shadowfang, we had the pleasure of not just one, but two members of Cosmic Eclipse joining us for this interview. It's Vert and Conk. First of all, congratulations on your win here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously ends up being a pretty close one, and we'll obviously get into that. But obviously going into this game, we'll go all the way back to map 1 right here. Things don't go well in that very first week, and now with y'all getting a little bit more experience of a team, what was kind of the mindset going into this game, trying to get that first win of the season?
Conk, do you want to go first?
Nah, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
I ain't got much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, while we haven't really been like a team for that long, all of us have played with each other in some sort of facet, so we're all like naturally born competitors, and we know what we're capable of. So it's just really about practice, and like our goal is to win, right? It's not fun to lose, so let's just go in and win a game.
Mm-hmm. I think mine's the exact same. It's like week 1, it's okay, new team, but then going into week 2, we're like, this is our time. We got it.
Yeah.
All right. So my question is actually going to be in relation to the just basically 180 that we were seeing throughout this series on 2 occasions, actually. What was the big change between maps 2 and 3, and then again between maps 4 and 5? Because it just seemed like there were 2 completely different Cosmic Eclipses out there throughout the course of the series.
I feel like Conk and I might have different answers, so I'm gonna let him go first.
From my point of view, we got a little silly. I know I take over for Vert on the fast maps, and they brought us to 3 slow maps, and I was like, I can't really do anything.
Yeah.
I was warming up with the team before, and whenever I came in on map 4, I kind of just wasn't there. But we got a little goofy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. So shout out Nitsi Pada. They're actually friends of ours. We haven't played a single scrim with him a single time, at all. But we were feeling ourselves a little bit, so we threw him in on map 3, and he was on like 160 ping. And then it kind of just, like after that, after losing a map, like going into Suravasa, like comm structure just fell off a little bit, and we were just a little goofy. We wanted to throw I'm just gonna say we wanted to throw a little bit of a show. That's all I'm gonna say. But we got a little goofy there. But to get back, going into map 5, it was literally just like, hey, we just need to listen to each other, just slow the game down, just do our thing, and we'll win this game. So.
All right. And then, like, in relation to kind of the tier as a whole, is there any team in particular in the tier that you are really looking forward to playing as the season progresses? Because, we have so many teams in the Masters tier this season.
I think for me personally, playing against our sister team Blackout Eclipse in like a playoff setting would be really fun. But also like more so within our group, I think I really want that game against Dire Triggers back from week 1. I think we could definitely compete a little bit better. And also like a lot of teams are just surprising us. Like Dire Triggers went to 5 versus like UTD, and that was unexpected. So I think a lot of these teams could be really, really good. So I think every game will be exciting. I mean, we've had like five maps already, so like it's going to be a really competitive tier, I think.
Yeah, I agree with Vert there. I wanna see that game against Dire Triggers again. I thought they were a really, really good team. Interested on it, and then I gotta plug it just because they're where I come from. I wanna see a game against both of the Eagle teams.
Yes.
I helped put them together this semester, and I want to go against them. I really do.
I don't. I'm terrified of Ufer, so don't make that happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh gosh, but obviously, going into next week being 1-1, y'all going up against a former but a fellow 1-1 team between UTD Zenith. So I mean, just overall thoughts going into that game. Is it going to be same old business for y'all like today, or is there, you feel like there's things you need to kind of clean up and change up going into that one?
Yeah, we definitely need to VOD Route 66 for sure.
100%.
We gotta go and look that back
And
at that
Suravasa.
map. Yeah, but no, I mean, listen, like, while this current version of the roster hasn't played together at the same time completely, like we've only been a team for 2 weeks. We formed the weekend before CGL started. But some of us have played together in some sort of fashion, so there's like natural synergy. We're just here to compete, and if people want to overlook us, that's fine. We're okay with that. Um, you know, it's kind of just like whoever's in front of us, we have full confidence in ourselves to beat. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah. I'm also very interested about going up against UTD. I don't have any particular feelings for like win or loss, but I am interested because I got to work with I think one of their managers with putting that together because they're a relatively newer organization for UTD.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty fair enough. I will throw in one more quick question because this just came to mind, and I'm going to be a good little interviewer on this one. Obviously, next week, all the new heroes are going to be in rotation for week 3. So how are y'all feeling about that? Because it is a significant jump with 5 new characters all at once.
You got this, Conk.
I don't like the cat. I don't want to see the cat in any of my games. I've had all of my comp games thrown by cat players, bro, but I've had to pick them up. I've had to pick them up. So maybe we might see the cat.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not going to say what we've been practicing, but we're loving the new characters. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff we can do with it, and things are going to get a little crazy. I think that's all I'm allowed to say.
Time to get even sillier than tonight.
Yeah, but like a good silly, not like a let's go toss the game silly.
Yeah.
All right. Love to hear it. But of course, before we let y'all go celebrate the win or get some food, just if there's anything else y'all want to say, or if there's anybody you want to shout out, y'all are both free to.
Yeah, shout out our coaches, Chase from Timeless, and then Jonathan who stepped in today. They're very smart. They've helped us a lot. We got to put some respect on Kylie, bro. She literally, we played with her on Wednesday. We were like, yep, this is our flex support, because we haven't had a flex support all season until her. And then she did exactly what we needed her to do today. And then, I'm sure Conk might echo some of my shout-outs, but I'm going to start some early propaganda. Pickle for MVP and Tank Roll Star. Thank you.
Yep, gotta say that. Same with me. Hume, Kylie, absolutely killing it. We had one scrim with her. She's absolutely killing it.
Who's this Evelyn? We got
true. But then I guess, I don't know. I got no more shoutouts.
Shout out the team for real.
Yeah.
Oh, and no one else will know who I'm referring to, but shout out Coach Kyle. Thank you.
I'm gonna double down on that pickle for MVP and Tank Roll Star.
All right, well, we'll take those votes into heavy consideration as the season progresses. I'm sure we will. We'll jot that down. Shadowfang, write that down. But all right, but again, we appreciate y'all being here. Again, congratulations on the win, and best of luck with the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care now. And there you have it. There you are, Shadowfang. To be fair, love that energy at the end of the day. After going to a Map 5 series and being that happy and talkative about it, honestly, I like it. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Vert's always a solid interview. He's super plugged in, knows what's going on with all the different teams and whatnot, and can give you some really good insight into what everybody's doing in the tier.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic. And hey, ends up being a banger Map 5 match. We've had a lot of them to get the season started between a lot of these tiers already. So hopefully we keep proceeding with that further on for the rest of the season. But when it comes to tonight, Shadowfang, that is going to be it for CGL. But we have more action going on throughout the weekend and obviously the coming weeks as the season is just getting started. We're just in our second week of action of Season 17. So we appreciate y'all being here. We appreciate, obviously, everybody in the back of the house. I'd remember thank you very much, probably producer Honeybee, for observing. So everyone, have yourself a fantastic night. We'll see you tomorrow for some more CGL action. Take care.